This video will show you how to take some PDF files that you have or even pictures of worksheets that you might have and transfer them into your Google Slides so that you can add text boxes to those worksheets so students can import their answers. I know it's a little tedious and it might seem like there's a lot of back-end work, but once you get the hang of it, it becomes easier and easier, and it's a little time consuming in the beginning. But if you have a worksheet that you found, whether it's on Teachers Pay Teachers or you have something that you want to use, you could always scan a worksheet that you might have into the copy machine and then drop it on your Google Drive, and you can actually make that something that you can have the students write on digitally as well. So these are the different methods that we are trying to teach you to use. So the first thing you need to do is make sure you have access to those documents. So the document that I'm going to be using is a PDF. There are two different ways that you can do this. If you have the PDF saved in your Google Drive, you can access it from there. Otherwise, whenever you download something off of the internet, it's always going to appear in your downloads folder. So you would just click on the folder icon in the taskbar, and then on the left-hand side, you would select the downloads link over here. And then you would just see any downloads that you have. So this Free Farm Math Worksheets is actually the one I have in my Google Drive right here. Now, it looks a little bit different if you open it in your Google Drive as opposed to opening it from the folder. If I open it from my Google Drive, you're going to see that I'm previewing it within Google Drive. So you have this black border around the whole page. You can still see everything that's within this packet that you've downloaded, but it just looks a little different because it's being previewed within a browser. However, if I go to this folder over here and I click on Free Farm Math Worksheets right from the source, right from the file, the location, if I click on it, you're going to notice it opens up in Adobe Acrobat Reader. So it's opening up in that reader and it looks a little bit different. You can still get where we need to be. You can still copy it and make a copy of it, whether you're in this version or whether you're previewing it in your Google Drive. It doesn't matter which way, it just looks a little different. So what you have to do is you have to open up that file. Again, you can open it right here, or you can go into your Google Drive and open it. It doesn't matter, it just depends on where you have it. Then what you have to do is you're going to have to shrink the page down so you see the entire sheet within your screen. It can't be cut off. So for example, if I were to scroll down and I wanted this page right here, or maybe I even wanted this page right here. If I wanted any of this, I can't really take a screenshot of it because the page is cut off. It doesn't all fit on the same on one screen. And I really essentially need to just take a picture of it to import it into my Google slide. So I'm going to make it smaller. Now, if you're opening it up in Adobe Acrobat, in order to make it smaller, you can adjust the percentage right here, or you can use the plus and minus signs over here and just click on it until you get that entire sheet within that window. So I just have to hide this out here. But you could just scroll it down a little bit. Really what you want to make sure you get is the entire worksheet. So from the top to the bottom, you want to be able to get the entire thing. So that's how you would do it if you opened it up in Adobe Acrobat. If you happen to be in your Google Drive and you're previewing that worksheet in Google Drive, again, you'll know that because you have the preview screen that has the blacked out sides over here. You would just have to navigate to that page again, and you're going to see I still can't use my snipping tool and take a picture of it because it's still cut off. It's too big. Rather than using the plus sign or minus sign, because there's a zoom down here that you can use, but what you really that's only like making it bigger or smaller within that preview window. So what you have to do is you have to click on the three dots in the upper corner, and then you're going to select the zoom here. Now this is going to make your entire browser smaller. So you're going to have to revert it back to the original 100% when you're done. So you're going to bring it down until you can see it. Now it doesn't have to be that small. I just went a little too fast. So I'm just going to bring it back up to where I need it to be. And sometimes it gets, I think it should be good. So 50%. So I'm just going to click off of it. And now, whoops, you can see it's really small, right? So now I'm going to just get to my page. And this is where I would have to use my snipping tool. Okay. All right. So either side, you can either do it on this preview, or again, you can be in your Adobe Acrobat, and you could do it here as well. It really does not matter. Once you have your worksheet all set up, you're going to use your snipping tool. Your snipping tool is on your taskbar. You can find it in your desktop, or you can also find it on your Dell laptops. And you're going to click on it. Once you click on it, a little window opens up and it asks you what you're trying to do. So you're going to make a new snip. Just click on the new button and you'll notice that the page pretty much either grays out or it just fades out, lightens up a little bit. And then your cursor turns into this little plus sign. You're going to place the cursor into the corner, the upper corner of the page. Okay. And then you have to use your 2 fingers now. You're going to click down with the left click. Okay. And then you're going to drag with your other finger. And you're trying to capture the whole page. Now, what you can notice is as you're dragging, anything that your cursor is capturing is going to become visible now. It's going to become bright and vibrant. So as I go ahead and scroll down and over, you can see that this is what I'm capturing. Okay, once you think that you're happy with what you've captured, you're just going to release everything and you'll see a snapshot of it. So if you happen to capture something and you let go a little bit early, you can always say new and it will start over again. So if you're not happy with it, it's not a big deal. Okay, so what do I do from here? What you have to do from here is you have to save it as an image. So a lot of times people will use the snipping tool and they'll just simply right-click copy, but we don't want to do that. When you're making a worksheet that students can actually write on or be able to type something on, you want to lock that image as the background. That way they can't drag it and move it off the page and stuff like that. So you're going to click on Save As, and you're just going to give it a name. So I'm going to just do farm. That's it. Oops. Okay. And I'm going to save it to my pictures. So just take note as to where you're saving it to. So this is going into my pictures, and it's farm. I'm going to click on Save. All right, so now I'm going to go over to my Google Drive. So here I am in my Google Drive because I'm previewing it here. And actually, I'm glad it landed me over here because if I had taken the snip from my Google Drive, I need to remember to go back to the 3 dots and bring it from 50% back up to 100%, just so it looks normal again. Okay, so now in my Google Drive, I want to make this worksheet that my students will be able to type their answers in. I'm going to simply click on the word new. I'm going to go to Google Slides. It's going to open up a brand new tab, and it's going to be a Google Slides presentation. From here, I want to change the size of my paper because I'm making a worksheet, and standard worksheets are an 8.5 by 11. Right now, this is technically Google Slides is a presentation. So it's always going to be a widescreen presentation. I always want to change my page size to be the size of the sheet of paper that I'm working with, whether it's landscape or portrait, you can always change that. So I'm going to click on File, and I'm going to scroll down towards the bottom, and I'm going to look for Page Setup. Once I click on Page Setup, you'll see it's defaulted to widescreen. If I click the little down arrow, I'm going to choose Custom. Now I know it's a piece of paper. It's an 8.5 by 11, but it's not landscape, it's portrait. So I have to reverse these. So I'm going to make this 8.5, 8.5, and I'm going to do, get rid of that. This is going to be 11, and I'm going to click on Apply. So now you'll see that my page has now changed its orientation. So now it's portrait, and it's also the size of a sheet of paper. I'm also going to click on these boxes to get rid of them so it doesn't mess me up later. So I'm going to click on them so that they turn blue and just simply hit the delete button on my keyboard and they'll go away. So again, here, click on it until it turns blue and then delete it. So now I just have my white piece of paper that's an 8.5 by 11 portrait. Okay, so from here, I want to make that farm worksheet the background. And again, the reason I'm making it the background is so that way when I put text boxes on top of it or put whatever my students have to do on top of it, they can't move the background. The background is going to be locked per se, okay? So here I'm going to click on the word background, and it's going to say, do you want a color or do you want to choose an image? Well, you want to choose the image because you just saved that worksheet as an image. So click on image, and then you're going to navigate to the spot where you saved that file. Now remember, it's saved to your computer. It's not saved necessarily in your Google Drive unless you uploaded it there. I didn't, so I'm going to browse my computer for it. And I'm going to select pictures on the left-hand side because I know I put it there. And I'm going to scroll through to see if I can find it. And it's right here. So you're going to select it and click on open. Once you've done that, you're going to click on done. You don't have to add it to the theme because if you add it to the theme, then every page that you add onto this file is going to have that as the background. So you don't really want to do that. Just click on the word done. And now you can see that that worksheet that I took a snip of, that PDF that I took a snip of, is now the background of this Google slide. If I try to move things, nothing is happening. I can't get anything to happen. So that's what I really want. I don't want the kids messing with the background of this worksheet. Again, the reason why we do this is if you were to just copy that snip and paste it on here, if the kids are moving their cursor around, they could easily move it off the page and then you'll just have problems. So it's just easier to lock it as the background. All right, so this particular worksheet asks the kids to circle what comes next. So if this was me and I wanted my students to be able to circle or put a circle over the different things that comes next, I'm literally going to just put a bunch of pre-made circles on the side of my paper here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different questions here, 6 questions that require them to circle something over here. So all I'm going to do is click on the shape button, go to the shapes and select a circle. And I'm going to draw one circle. I'm going to test out that circle. I know it's colored right now, but I just want to see the size of the circle when I put it over the object. So right now that might be a little too big. I'm going to adjust it. And remember, when you're adjusting something, a picture, you always grab the corners. You don't grab the top and bottom or the sides because it's going to make it look distorted and not like that perfect circle. So I think this is just about good. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just see if it works here too. That's pretty good. Down here, that works pretty good. Okay. So I think my circle size is actually really good. Now I want to alter my circle. So I want to make sure that it is transparent because when it's a circle that's supposed to look like the kid is circling the object, right? So I want a transparent background. I want to be able to see through it when I put it over something. So see how I can see through it? If you choose white, so it was defaulted to a gray. If you choose white, when you move it over, it's going to cover that image. So you want to make sure that you choose transparent. The other thing I want to do is I want to give the outline of that circle a color so it stands out a little bit more. So I'm going to select this right here. It's called the border color. Again, always make sure you have the blue lines around the object you're working on. So I'm going to choose a blue color right here. And if you notice, if I click off of it, that's what it looks like. It's fine, but I want to really make sure I can see that circle, that line. So I'm going to click on it one more time because I'm still working on it. And right next to the border color is the weight, the border weight. If you click on that, you can choose the thickness. The weight is how thick your line is going to be. Now, if you scroll over all the different ones, it's not going to show you how thick it is. You just have to click on one and see if you like it or not. So I'm going to go to 3, and I think I want to go a little bit more. Let's see what 8's like. I think 8 is actually pretty good. I'm going to test it out, put it over, and that actually looks pretty good. It stands out enough for me to see. It stands out enough for the kids to see it, and I like that. So now what I'm going to do is I want to duplicate this circle 5 more times because I want them to have 5 circles. They need to have 6 circles altogether, so I need 5 more. So all I'm going to do is I have this selected. I'm going to hold down the control button, and I'm going to select the D, and it's just going to duplicate it. Okay, and then you can just click and drag. So I'm going to bring them down. And again, you have these guidelines, these red guidelines that show you that you have everything in order. You don't necessarily have to have them all in order. You can kind of just have them placed wherever you want. But what you do have to make sure is that you have the right amount of circles. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I have 6 over here. So it doesn't really matter how you lay them out. You kind of just place them all over as long as you have enough circles. So for my first worksheet, I now have my 6 pre-made circles for my students, and it says circle what comes next. Sometimes what we've been doing is down here where it says click to add speaker notes. You might just click on it and say drag the circle over over what comes next. Okay, and maybe you write the word directions in the front and so forth, but that way the kids know the directions. So this is the one worksheet done so far. Let's say I wanted to add another worksheet. I'm going to click on the down arrow over here, and then I'm going to select the very last one that says blank. And it opens up a new worksheet. Again, I'm going to find another worksheet that I want to add into this file that I'm going to be sharing with my class. So I'm going to click over here, and this time I'm going to go to apple picking telling time. So I'm going to double click that, and it opens up again here. Now it's going to go back to big size again. So I'm going to have to alter it one more time. So here's my apple picking, and you can see that they have to write the time. Okay, so just see what they have here. It actually matches with this, but I'm just going to copy this one for now. So I'm going to just make this smaller, small enough so that I could actually snip the whole thing. I'll make it a touch smaller. That should be fine. Okay, so even if it's like really tiny like this, it's not going to matter. Okay, so now I'm going to go back down to my snipping tool, and you're going to notice that whatever you snipped before this is going to pop up. All you have to do is click on the word new, and it will allow you to start over again. So now again, it grays out the background. You're going to take your cursor and put it up in the upper left, click and hold and drag to capture the worksheet that you're looking for. Okay, and then release when you're done. Again, you're going to right click, not copy. You're going to do save as, save it to the picture's location, and then I'm going to name this one Apple Time. Okay, and then click on save. And now we're going back to the Google slide. And now I want to add the background here again. So I'm going to click on, make sure you're on the correct slide. Then you're going to click on background, choose the image, look on your computer or browse your computer under the pictures section. Apple Time is the PNG that I saved. Click on open, and then click done. And now you'll notice that that PDF is now, again, the background of my page. Now for this one, you actually do need the other page that goes along with it to so the kids can actually write the times down. But let's just say that these apples were little clocks and they could actually tell the time. What I would want to do is be able to put text boxes in here so the kids could write down the time. There's two ways of doing this. You could either completely cover this box so they'd have to type it in, or you could do two separate text boxes so they'd have to write on either side here. So to make it a little bit easier on myself, I'm going to make the page a little bit bigger so I can see it. I'm going to make it 100%. So that way I can see the text boxes more clearly. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the T, the text box. I'm going to click on it once, and you'll notice that you're using text box because it's selected now in a yellow color. And then my cursor again turns into a plus sign. And I'm going to click and hold and drag to build out my text box. And then I'm going to release. Okay, so now this is where I get a little OCD. I always like to make sure that my boxes, everything is centered, the font is the way I want it, the size is the way I want it. And I always perfect my one text box and then copy and paste it for everything else. So in this case, just to kind of make it easier, what I'm going to do is change it to a font that I like. I always use Century Gothic. And I'm going to make it bold. And I'm going to change the color of it to blue because I want to be able to see it. I want the kids to be able to see it. I'm going to make it maybe 16 size font. The last thing I'm going to do is I really want it centered in the box because I want it to be exactly where I want it placed. Okay. Now, I also want the kids to be able to see that there's a box there. So I'm going to click on this little pencil here, and I'm going to give it a border color. And I'm also going to make it blue. And I'm just going to leave it the weight that it is because I just need them to see that there's a box there. So when I click off of it, there's that one little box. And now if I were to click back into it and I try to type a number, how does that look? You know what? It looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. So now I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to erase my answer. And then I'm simply going to make sure I'm selected on the box, which I am. And I'm going to Control D to duplicate it. And then just drag it to the other side using those red lines as my guideline. So now I've completed my first. I now know that the students can type in one box and the other, the time that they're given. If I'm happy with that, I can keep on going and I can just do duplicate again. Whoops, sorry. You have to click on the actual icon, item, Control D for duplicate, and then just drag it to the other side. Now, if you didn't want to do all these individual boxes and you wanted the students to actually put the colon in and do the real time, you could do that as well. Instead of doing single boxes, you would just simply click on the text box, and then you would, again, click and hold and drag and go over the entire box. And to take away confusion with this, what I would then do is I would use this fill icon right here and fill it so it wasn't transparent, but that it was white. And then again, I would go through with customizing everything. So I'm going to make it Century Gothic. I'm going to make it 15 font size. I'm going to click on the three dots over here. I'm going to make it blue and bold. And then I want my border to be blue as well. So now, oops, one last thing. I want to make it centered. So now there was two ways of doing it. They can either go into each separate box and write their time, or they have one big box, and when they click in it, their cursor is going to be in the middle, and they just have to write the time there. It's really up to you, however you want them to be able to do it. And again, when you're done with it, after you're done putting all your different text boxes in, you can come back up here to the magnifying glass and you can change it to be fit again so that you can see it and the kids can see it. So now when you're all finished with it, the students will see all these different boxes down here that they'll be able to work in. Something that you really want to point out to your students is just like how you magnified it and made it bigger, they are able to do that as well. They can make their page bigger so it's easier for them to look at the question and actually submit their answers. Just know that you are adding text boxes wherever the answer boxes are going to be. So there is a chance that a student can always click on that text box and make it bigger or move it around. If that happens, the lucky keys are always Control Z, as in zebra. So if a student says, oh my gosh, I did something wrong, they can either click on Control Z to get it back to where it was, or there's this undo button over here that they can do to get that text box back. I hope this helps you guys. Hopefully I'm going to search for another video for you guys using Kami, but this is the typical way that you would be converting your PDFs or anything else to a document that your students will be able to submit their answers.